Okay, can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'd like to call the Fire District Board meeting of September 21st to order. Could we have the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag
To
of
the flag
the United
of
States
the United States, America, and
and
to the republic for
Which
which
is
it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for
for
all.
all.
That's great. Could we have the roll call, please? You have to unmute yourself, Chris.
Sorry.
There.
Aldrich,
Here.
Beckman,
Here.
Fox,
Here.
Verplank,
Here.
Phelps,
Here.
Pullen, I don't see yet. And Miller.
There's Miller. True.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Would you all please mute your cell phones? And could we have approval of the agenda? Is there any additions or deletions?
I'll move we approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll second.
Oh, wait a minute, I have a correction. Could we talk about the open house or the lack thereof?
Sure.
I'll move we approve the agenda with the addition of the open house discussion.
Have a second, please.
I'll second.
All right, you have a motion by Fox and a second by Phelps to add the open house to the agenda. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Fox,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
yep, okay.
Okay.
Verplank
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Okay, could we have approval of the minutes, please? Of the August 17th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the August 17th meeting.
I'll support Aldrich.
Okay, we have a motion by Phelps and support by Aldrich to approve the minutes of the August 17th meeting. Is there any discussion? Okay, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Phelps,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have requests for payments. Can I have a motion to approve the accounts payable?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable to the tune of $200,386.68.
I'll support.
Is there any discussion, any questions? It's a big one this time.
Mhm.
There is. How come the legal fees are so high?
I could explain that. Madam Chair, can I answer that?
Please do.
The reason is, Scott, the underwater dive inspection, that was about $8,300,
Okay.
went through our lawyer.
Okay.
So we routed it through there, so it just shows up on the accounting.
Okay.
I dropped over when I saw that too.
I think
Can
that
I
was,
ask what was the nature or what were the nature of the repairs on 2151?
2151, and that's I'm glad you mentioned that because that's just not for 2151. Let me see, is it South Side?
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
so,
Spencer, it looks like.
right. So the Spencer amount also includes, that's kind of a erroneous 2151. Those repairs are not just for that truck 2151. Those repairs, $10,000 of that is for lightning damage to 2191, the fireboat. So 10,000 you'd have to extract from there. $9,675.
Are we
Is
are we
covered by
combingling
insurance.
numbers and expenses?
I'm sorry?
Are we commingling expenses? Are we keeping track that, wouldn't that be an insurance claim?
It is, but we have to make the payment and we submit the payment and then we get reimbursed. So I see the confusion. Eric and board understand the way the accounting is. We pay them, we submit a final claim for reimbursement and get those funds returned to us, less a $1,000 deductible. We didn't know to what extent the damage had happened. So most of what you see on the fireboat lightning damage is computers for the fire pump. A large part of that was diagnosing that. So,
I guess I'm a little more concerned about the legal fees. Didn't you say you ran something through the legal fees?
yeah, under the advice of the attorney, since we own those tapes, all the underwater video, we did not want it going out to the wrong hands since we paid for it. And it was required by Saugatuck City. So we wanted possession of that. So the legal department suggested that it gets billed through legal and they pass the bill on to us.
Just so you have a good memory when we start questioning you later about legal fees being through the roof.
Yes, sir. No, it's a good point. We're actually, Eric, what we're doing is we're creating a spreadsheet each month for legal fees. We just started that with, we lost Aaron, so it's getting started with another clerk as far as what's for North Shores, what's for this, what's for that, so we can clearly be able to tell the board over the course of a year, here's the total fees thus far on this project. So we are tracking that. We just turned it over to somebody else. That's why you don't have it this month.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Okay, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Phelps,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes,
Aldrich,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Pullen is still absent, and Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. How about the financial report, Peter?
Okay, I was just gonna bring up to Eric and Scott's questions, that list that we paid the bills off that has the whole amount, that's the payroll and everything. If you go back to the invoice report, that has the breakdown every month, like with Spencer's, the $18,000 check, it tells you the 3 different invoices paid. Same with the one right above it, the south side, it shows you the 3 different invoices also they're paid. And so on the finances, I guess we really haven't collected a lot of money revenues because the tax bills aren't going out to December 1, but we have collected a little bit in inspection, plan review fees, and cost recovery. So payroll currently, everything is online, but if you look down there, boat maintenance, that's already over budget, and that's caused because of the lightning damage storm. So at some point we're going to have to, once we get the final claim in, and we'll offset that cost by a revenue line item of insurance proceeds once we figure out whatever the insurance is going to pay us, whatever the final total is. I don't know, does anybody has any particular line item, other line item questions that stick out? we're right now, currently, we're at 25% of the fiscal year is over with. We're at the end of the first quarter, which ends next week. Okay.
Okay, no questions? Okay, moving on. We're at fire chief comments, incident reports. Take it away.
Okay, thank you, Jane. Thank you, Fire Board. Just wanted to capture some highlights that's important for the board. I mean, it's all important, but some significant highlights would be your 102 calls for August. While COVID certainly slowed the year down, we were not short of calls the month of August. It really ramped up. I think the record is 105 calls. Everything across the board is down. Motor vehicle incidents, all the way across. You can see we're down about 14%. So that's a good figure for the board to communicate to their municipalities. We're down about 14%. Kind of unusual, the biggest day of the week this month, or August, is Thursday. Not sure why, but nonetheless, it's Thursday. Time of the days is pretty common. During the day is where we get our call volume in Saugatuck. So overlapping calls down to about 8. Again, in September, August was 30, up more than usual. So that activity certainly shows how we have back-to-back calls. Typical infers breakdown, although EMS is up to about 68%, higher than normal. Fireboat activity, boats in distress have taken the award for demands this year. Motor vehicle incidents are down about 55%. Loss of vehicles, we had about a $16,000 loss on a total of $100,000 worth of vehicles. Pretty good saves. We don't have that one incident interjected into the program yet. Special events, as you know, is way down. Next up, we have typical allocation of incidents by area. Douglas Cove is starting to climb. We do not know why, but we have it, we are watching it. We're already at 30 calls. Typical allocation of budget, yes.
Can I ask, are those typical calls or are those?
They're priority 2s and 1s. I have not been notified of anything that has been embellished. The calls seem to be justified.
Thank you.
Okay, next slide, please. And we do have property saved, pretty substantial for Saugatuck. You can see we're way up to the $2,500,000 range of property value saved. And I think, as Dan wisely pointed out, that's sort of conservative. So we're real happy about that. Response times are holding pretty darn good, a little over 5 minutes. Priority 1s and 2s are at about 55 calls for the month. That just shows activity of responders. I think that's about it. Thank you, Chris. Moving on to the agenda, community risk reduction. Your agenda says about 87 fatal fires. Chris and I believe it's more accurate to be a little over 90 since our last meeting. We had some discrepancies in reports from our database with the state of Michigan. So grants, I am happy to report to the board for you to report to your jurisdictions. We've been awarded another grant, $26,190 from FEMA in a request to purchase personal property equipment, extractors, and a dryer. We put in for 2 wash machines and 1 dryer. including the plumbing and the electrical. So they removed one wash machine. You'll see later on, we are going to ask you to fund another wash machine. We couldn't get it all covered, but you still were able to get $26,190 out of a grant. And we do have a slide on grants, just to give you an idea. Chris, can we go on to 2020?
Sorry,
There you go.
trying to find it. There it is.
Right. I just wanted to share with the board the efforts and results of the grant team. And this month was extraordinary, and we're not done yet. I think you'll be seeing more grants coming up from the state in the next month or so. But, you know, in about 8 months, we're talking over $7,000 a month in revenue that we're bringing back in to the fire district to saving taxpayers. You can see 2 substantial grants for the Live Fire Training Center that were from the Michigan Firefighter Training Council, which would be the fireworks funds at $10,000 and $5,450. So we're really happy with that and hope that you are as well. Great. Chris Mannels was the lead author on the grant. The whole team reviews the grants, but Chris was the chief author, so my hat is tipped to Chris Mannels. Next up, I wanted to share with the board that Chris Bernhardy now is an NFPA certified plans examiner. This is no easy exam to pass or class to pass. Chris Mannels and myself are plans examiners. Now we have Chris Bernhardy. He is also tested out for Fire Inspector 2, waiting for the results of that exam. Next up, we have Wendy Bales, who is one of our new EMTs who passed Great Lakes Academy for EMTs with flying colors. So congratulations to Chris Bernhardy and Wendy Bales.
Good job.
Next up, we have, the board's heard me talk about this before, an EMS study. We've got to determine what we're going to do. Basically, there's an inclination and a reason to believe that perhaps we should be transporting. That's a big investment. Do we have room for 2 more ambulances? How do we staff it? But there's a lot of belief that response times from our ALS, that's advanced life support, are going to be slower and slower as time moves on. And we're already there at the scene. How would it impact the station if we continue and transport those people to the hospital? Also, we would have an accounts billable department, receivable. So all that would be invoiced, and we probably would get back about 83% return on transport. But here was my problem. Boards like to see studies on this, conclusive evidence based on a report. That report estimate is $35,000. So I wasn't sure what the board wanted me to do. I put it in a cap plan for next year, and we can certainly talk about it as time goes on. But I just wanted to inform the board that this is the direction that we've been investigating. I have one other avenue, another source for a consultant's review on do we transport or not, pros and cons, but I have not concluded anything with that resource. When I do find out, I will let you know.
Craig,
Yes.
do we have access to what's the provider?
And we have AMR, and now, Dan, we have Life Ambulance. That's 130th and South. We have 2 providers now.
Do we have access then to their billing within our area over, say, the past 2-3 years?
Not to my knowledge. We have access to the time out the door, arrival and clearing. We have time to their data, but not billing. I don't know that,
Can
I
ask-
doubt we would.
Can we ask for it?
I can try, being a profit agency, private, I don't know that they'll give it to us, but I'll be glad to ask them for it.
I think it's at least worth asking because it'd be a number that potentially bear on all this.
So you'd like to know, would you like to know of total cost billed on an annual basis?
In our area, yeah.
Hey, Greg, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone in the area that has gone to adding EMS instead of reinventing the wheel? Maybe it's a place to start, have them come in or talk to them and figure out what kind of outlay we're talking about instead of spending $35,000 on a study that someone may have already done. Just
No, that's a good question. No one around here has done it because our departments tend to be smaller. There is an exception. Howland did it years ago. Most of the departments that have done it are in the Muskegon area. I actually had a meeting with 4 fire chiefs that 3 of them actually transport now. They're basic life support, BLS. Brighton Fire just did it. Those were the chiefs that influenced me and gave me information. Brighton Fire is a huge department. They actually hired the consultant that I reached out to for a very comprehensive report. Howland Fire did it years ago, and they liked it. The problem was there was going to be an impact with some of their neighbors. Who brought it to my attention was Howland Fire, along with Graskup, along with Hamilton. The 4 of us thought, what a great way to do this if we had agreements where we have 1 ambulance here, 1 ambulance in Hamilton, and we share services. The problem is, the more agencies you get involved, the more complexity you have to the decision making. You know, what agency's got a $250,000 a year budget? What do we do with Ganges? What do we do with Fenville? So the magnitude of transporting became overwhelming to some of the smaller agencies because of staffing. But we looked at Howland, Hamilton, Graskup, and Saugatuck as candidates for this type of program. The problem was Hamilton and Graskup did not put it in their budgets. So we thought, well, let's split this 4 ways because I don't want to pay for a consultant's fee that's going to benefit everybody else unless the board directs me to do that. But around here, we tend to run less calls than up north and then on the east side of the county, east side of the state. So you don't run into those types of situations.
I thought South Haven did something like this.
They do transport. They do, but they have South Haven Hospital right there, so it was a natural fit. For example, if we did it, we would be BLS. I'll just throw this out. We would buy 1 new truck for about $225,000. We would buy a used secondary truck. We would staff it with EMTs and try to get people that are working 10 days a month at other facilities, try to get them to work and fill shifts for us. When 1 truck goes out of the area to transport to Howland, we've got to have a backup. And we have some equipment. The thing that makes sense from this perspective is we're already there. And if we can get them to the hospital quicker, that has benefits. But it's like anything else. At what level of service do you want for the costs? That's what Billy Goldfeder taught us. What level of service do the taxpayers want? Sure, we could transport. Sure, we could get you there quicker. But what is it going to cost us? That's what I want to share with you.
There again, Greg, if there's some way, even if it's an estimate, because we certainly know the number of runs that they've made, the contractors have made in our area. So even if we had to estimate cost recovery rough numbers, it'd be a really helpful piece of information to know
Right.
whether we're moving from a, it's probably not going to be even going across, but are we talking about a 5% increase, a 10% increase, or a 100% increase?
My idea was a sustainable program. I didn't look at this as a funding mechanism, nor did I look at it as hiring people. I looked at it from perspective of providing a service. Some municipalities look at it for adding staffing on. That was not my goal. My goal was to add minimum staffing on, but still staff this around the clock. And it was to do it without adding $1 million worth of equipment onto the department.
My sense would be the jurisdictions would be all for it. Having local control and having the ambulances closer and all the rest of that, assuming it's not going to be double the cost or
Right.
some significant cost increase.
I think they would be receptive to listening to the plan, the pros and cons, and I'll get more information. I want to reach out and have another meeting with the chiefs up north that did this last year. So it's hard to compare ourselves to Holland in the South Haven when they do 4,000 calls a year. They've got, South Haven's got paramedics. They've got a whole different dynamics of a budget than we do. But just about all of them that I talked to, except for South Haven, has an agency that does all the billing. You pay an 8% fee. So we don't have that staffing. We don't have to add an accounts receivable on the payroll person. We outsource that. We don't spend $450,000 on an ambulance. These guys have done that already. But what is it based on the call volume we have? What is it going to cost us? Where do the taxpayers save money?
Yeah, well, I think we almost have to go to the taxpayers and ask them what they think. I mean, I've done a survey for the school. I've done a survey for what Isabella's wants or what Isabel's. There's good surveys out there. Maybe we need to get some public views and start thinking about it because, we have 100 days. I've heard this a million times out of Saugatuck City Council. We only have 100 days of summer. Well, that means we have 100 days of a overpopulation here. And then the rest, 5,000 people? I don't know. I think we need to find out what the public wants.
That's a great way of surveying.
I'd be all for that, but I wouldn't do it until we could give the public more information than we can at this point.
I would agree with that, Dan. Let's get our ducks in a row before we ask the question.
It's too easy for people to say, oh yeah, of course I want an ambulance close to
Right.
home, blah, blah, blah.
But by the way, it's going to cost you because we got to raise the taxes. We don't want to
Yes.
do that.
Yes, exactly.
Or minimal. If we do anything, my thinking is we can save money. Rather than a $1,000 run, it might be $700 run from ambulance. These are things we need to determine. I just want to share with you where I'm at with this and let you know if I'm on the wrong direction, please tell me and I'll stop. But when I can, I work on this because I'm into long range planning. And, hopefully I can have an answer for the township within 3 years. How will it impact the Fenville Ambulance Consortium? How will that affect our mutual aid neighbors? We don't want it to be punitive. What happens if we pull out of the Fenville Ambulance Consortium? Are we prepared to answer for that? These are things I want to make sure we're all on the same plane and we're in unison with the needs of the taxpayer. What's the benefit for them?
Craig, do the current providers charge based on their total mileage from leaving their, wherever the hell they start from?
Yeah, they have an a la carte and then there's mileage. And I know they used to run calls where if they didn't provide any service, say they went and checked their blood sugar, it used to be no charge. My understanding is that's not the case anymore. They charge you and submit it all to your insurance company if you have insurance. So, that's my understanding.
Thanks.
To me, it feels like it's worth exploring and putting together some different scenarios of either one, staying the course, two, another option, or maybe three, there's more than one option that might be viable, but maybe starting with some objectives, like what are we looking to do? One would be potentially decrease cost. Another would be potentially decrease response times. Like starting with like really stating out like what are the factors that we're looking to affect in different options.
Perfect. That's perfect, Aaron. I should have had you explain it.
That's the limit of my understanding, so that's all.
That's the whole goal is can we decrease cost and keep the level of service the same or enhance it?
Mm-hmm.
Everything else we can make work, but does it make economic sense as a board, as an administrative board? And that's what I'm gonna find out.
Well, just for the board's reference, we've been talking about this Scott and I have been on this board a long time. And even when John was here, there was discussions of having our own ambulance. So this is nothing Greg's pulling out of his hat. This has been discussed for years. So I think now's the time we look into it deeper and see what the benefits and the features and how we can benefit from this. So I think we keep on moving forward to figure it out.
I agree.
Thank you.
Okay,
Madam Chair, that includes my chief comments.
okay, thank you. Moving on. We need a cost recovery SOG.
This is just a follow-up for the board. Oh, sorry, Jane, can I go on
Yeah.
this? Okay, sorry. Just page 17, I think will show you the change the board helped me with. Item number 14, we added towing related question to the SOP. We've used this probably 8 or 9 times since, so we really like it.
Chief,
Yes.
this is maybe my desire to get things uniform. If you change questions, just change question 6, one word, where proper burn permit rules, instead of saying followed, flip it and say, were they ignored? And on the following question, instead of saying was a burn permit issued, you could say something like, did the responsible person fail to obtain a burn permit? With those 2 wording changes, then an answer to any question 1 through 8, any yes question, any yes answer to any one of those questions will automatically engage it. And I say that because at the beginning, when it says, quote, or an improper response to any of the following criteria, sounds to me fairly imprecise and somewhat confusing to anybody reading it for the, what's improper mean? Yeah, but if you change it to a very simple answer yes to any one of these 8, we're coming for it.
Gotcha. So Dan, on number 6, substitute ignored for followed.
Yes, and then so if somebody says, if you answer yes to that, it means you ignored it and we're gonna come get you.
And number 7 was that the responsible party.
Fail to obtain a burn permit.
Okay, obtain a burn permit. Got it. Then we can change that improper to yes or no. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
just the yes, any yes response to those 1 to 8. It's nice and simple then.
I can do that, Dan. Thank you.
Pleasure.
We're going to have you sign this from now on since you helped pen this whole thing.
I'll just autograph them as they come out.
Thank you for that. We will revise it.
Okay, moving on to new business. We have a capital improvement plan review.
Okay, as promised, we finally were able to get to our capital improvement plan. Chris, you've got a pointer. Maybe you can highlight the column that we're in right now. There it is, 2020-21, where you can see replace Chief's vehicle, 75,000. That's the column we're referring to now.
Yeah.
If you drop down to 2141, where it says 15,000, that's the cabinets are falling apart off the truck that's going in October. So that's to replace the cabinets and repipe the pump on that truck. The rest of it's pretty self-explanatory. DNR owned vehicles, the pumps are failing on the skid mounts. It's $5,000 per pump per vehicle. As you know, the fire district never paid any money for those trucks. They are permanently loaned to the fire district. We only put in the firefighting equipment that's in the back of the truck. The thermal imager camera we already purchased. There's another personal thermal imagers we've got on there, kind of a new technology that's been out for about 6 years, where an individual person would wear a thermal imager. They're about $1,200 per device. We're going to try that to see if we want to shift to that. The drone has been postponed. Extrication tools at $35K. That has been ordered. That was approved last month. We have not done anything with parking lot lighting, nor do I think we're going to this year. We're too busy with other stuff. The turnout gear washer, you will see towards the agenda, that will be a capital request for the board to fund the washing machine that FEMA wouldn't give us. So you see the capital improvement plan for this year. Any questions on that? If not, can we jump over to the next line, Chris? This is a big one that I wanted to bring to the attention of the board. 2111 was built in 2008. We put a 15-year life on it, so to speak, so that we staggered out expenditures. Otherwise, we're going to end up with too many trucks at one time. Disadvantages, well, kind of you replace a truck at 20 years, although that's kind of changing because technology has advanced and safety features have advanced. For example, you build a truck nowadays, there's no way you could take turnout gear and put it in a cab. It's cancerous. You simply can't do that. These trucks are not built to do that. So in there, you will see a $600,000 price tag on a new engine if we decide to replace an engine. Peter can chime in here. I believe we've got about $300,000, maybe a little $300,000 in our fund balance towards the vehicle. The rest would have to be loaned, would be borrowed. So that's a big one. And I'm happy to try to answer any questions the board may have about this. Okay, if nothing heard, we can always go back to that. Then we
Well,
can just,
Greg,
yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah,
I'm not even sure what vehicle that is. You guys are so familiar with the years and the numbers and everything else.
yeah, I'm sorry. I should.
It's almost like we need a picture of it. I hate to sound stupid, but
No, you're right. So this is a truck we purchased, we had built at Spencer's. It was a big move for the department back then because it had a bigger cab and it had a cab system. It's one of the few new vehicles this department ever purchased. And it's got good life left in it, but the idea was to the school of thought was, well, do we get more money for it now, or do we keep running it and it depreciates more? And there you go, 2111.
Just like, that makes a big difference. Thank you.
I just clicked and I just did that. That was actually Chris. So that's the
Yeah.
truck. And again, the philosophy was, when I came on board, there was a lot of discussion with the board at the time to stop buying used trucks. And that's why we were upgrading some of our trucks, like our tankers. We put pumps on them. We budgeted to put some cabinets on it and upgrade them the best we could and keep them. They don't owe us anything. But when you get into an engine, you know, you've got to start thinking about those things. 2112 is, I can't see on here. As you know, we bought 2112 used, and that year is
Maybe
that's a
2025. I believe.
2011. Yeah, that's a 2011. I think the next one that's up is the Ariel, which we bought as a 1999, as I remember. That's a used truck.
This was supposed to get deleted because we put a pump on this, and I meant to delete this and forgot, so I missed that 2141.
You're right. I did too. We can change that out. So we won't have that $500,000 expenditure. So what we tried to take in consideration was a truck replacement. The other thing I wanted to point out, Chris, can we scroll to the next page? Something I've let some of the board members know, something I haven't had a chance because we haven't met. If you go into the kitchen and look at the kitchen is obsolete, it's falling apart, it's inadequate, and it's 37 years old. I want to gut the kitchen and replace the kitchen. And I'm going to ask the board, please consider allowing me to invest in our personnel and gut this residential kitchen, which is so underserving of our department. I don't know where to begin. So that is in there. Actually, I wanted to try to do it this year. I could not fund it. The cabinets are falling apart. I think we're on our 5th stove, and it needs to be changed. So this is more of a commercial kitchen. We will be putting in a hood system with a suppression system. That's $30,000 right there. So I wanted to share that with you.
Right.
The rest of it, yes.
On the expensive equipment on the trucks and whatnot, do you or do we routinely go through a process, you know, for lack of a better term, sort of a zero-based process on the trucks where we look at their respective utilization and whatever, aiming to be sure we couldn't eliminate a vehicle over, you know, because other vehicles have greater capacities as you get newer vehicles or whatever. I'm not saying we need to get rid of a vehicle, but it would please me a great deal if we could, you know, there was some procedure in place to say, you know, when the time comes, this vehicle could be replaced because we're going to add capability to another vehicle or whatever it is, rather than just there's always been a truck with that number or whatever, and we're going to get another one. Follow me?
Very good point, Dan, and you're right. When I became chief, there was direction from the board to get rid of several apparatus. We got rid of an engine, and we also sold our heavy rescue truck. To my regret, we sold the heavy rescue truck. We didn't have the motor vehicle incidents that we had. So we got rid of 2 enormous expensive apparatus, and the latter is part of an ISO benefit plus for our business district. So we had to have a backup reserve engine. So that's where 2111 comes into play. It's the backup reserve for 2112, that other engine that we have. And the latter is a 3rd engine, which even has a bigger pump. So the benefit is we went from 5 engines down to 3. I'm not so sure we're going to ever want to drop below 3 because of our business district. And I think we're sensibly positioned. And please, Scott Phelps has a whole lot more experience than I do when it comes to apparatus. So Scott, feel free to chime in here.
Yeah, I know we got rid of quite a few of them, but I don't think we can go under what we have now. It's like, if you have to go out, if one truck's out on a call and you need something else downtown, you don't want to cut yourself too short on getting rid of more equipment.
And a lot of times we're fighting fires with 2 engines. The other thing is we're required to have an alternative water supply on scene.
Mm-hmm.
That's a separate engine, because if I lose a pump on one engine and I got people inside, that's 2 engines right there. If I get another back-to-back fire, I can't just leave that scene. Yeah, I've got mutual aid, but I have 4 automatic aid agreements. They're going to be with me. So typically we can send another engine out, because the 3rd engine we can usually break down rapidly. So excellent question, Dan. In my opinion, we are positioned correctly with 3 apparatus, because they in reserves. The other thing we have is sometimes maybe 3-4 weeks out of the year, one of them's not even in service, because either there's a pump seal that's bad, or it's out on a DTOT inspection, or something's wrong with it. The air conditioning computer is out. It's out for 4 days. We ran into that with tankers. I had probably 6 weeks where I had no tankers, one at a time. So I think that our investment in engines is very sound. I mean, we have about $200,000 into our aerial. That's a $1.2 million purchase right there. Engines now are $625,000 easily. So last time we bought 2112, 2011, we bought a used engine because we sold an engine. We only had about 165,000. Then we borrowed some money to upgrade our engine. So that's a background on our apparatus.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question going back to the kitchen thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you feel that the kitchen should be in the space where it's at now, or have you considered maybe building a different room down below maybe? And then, I don't know, you were talking a while ago about needing more sleeping quarters and things like that for the staff spending the night. Has there ever been any thought to maybe expanding out for a new kitchen space, or do you like it where it is?
Yes. No, what I foresee, Stacy, is if the growth continues, and if the board decides to meet those needs with more appropriate dormitory accommodations, we would potentially build to the north 2-story, and we would knock a hole in the wall and join the kitchen, and there would be a sitting dining area to the north, and it would be contiguous off there. So you're right. I have planned on that. The other thought is building to the south and adding 2 floors on with truck bays. The problem is I don't know how to do a drive-through there because we don't own the property to the west.
Oh.
That is Tower Marine's property. So we do not have easements to that property. So until we determine what the needs are, long-range plans, and growth, I could see the kitchen staying right where it is, and training floors might switch to the 1st floor. I think offices should switch to the 1st floor for ADA requirements, but I think the kitchen is safe to be on the 2nd floor where it is. I think it would be also less expensive rather than moving plumbing lines, main stacks, utilities of that nature.
Okay.
I have taken that into account.
Yeah, because it's like, if you fix one thing, then the next thing needs to go, So it's, believe me, I've remodeled stuff.
Right. That's why the kitchen needs to be gutted. I mean, there's cabinets, doors that are falling off. They were built out of plywood. They aren't
Right.
even cabinets. It served a purpose at the time. We built the station with about, what, Scott, $275,000?
I think so, yeah.
And you know, to replace the station now, it is probably $3 million.
Yeah, wow.
It doesn't owe us
I just
anything.
want, yeah, it's a good point.
Right.
I'm here.
Nick?
Can you hear me?
Hi, True.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm late. I had an emergency. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Hey, Greg, maybe we should talk to James Brandis and get a rights of first refusal on his building, if he owns that.
I thought the same thing.
I think, putting something in writing for him, and if he ever wants to sell it, we should at least get first dibs on it.
I agree. I thought the same thing. I mean, we've talked, some of the board members I talked about the storage building, acquiring that from RJ Peterson for expansion. There's a house down on Maple Street that's a rental house. We're trying to figure out what we can do with accommodations, because that's where it gets real sticky.
Right.
When you stick 6 people in a room like that, we're maxed out on that.
I'm just looking at the location and how
Yep.
close he is to us, and a mutual parking lot, and I don't know. It's just the
I
other
will
thing I
be
was thinking
talking
about the kitchen remodel project is something like Whirlpool ever offer anything special to municipalities for improvements?
I have
mean,
not
the-
reached out to them. Primary reason is my experience with residential fixtures in this structure for 20 years, we have upped to go to commercial fixtures, and I don't know that Whirlpool has.
Yeah, they have a commercial division.
Okay, so that's the main reason. I certainly can do that.
Let me
Make it
find
a
out. I think I know someone that works there. At least I'll ask him and I'll let you know.
Good, thank you. Right. I will reach out to James Brandis. We've often thought about that house when it was available, how great it would have been to buy that and convert it. So, any other questions
Sorry. Oh, I just wondered, did you already consult with the architect for the remodel, or is that?
No, we did not. What we did is, that's a good question. What we did is, we got bids out for a specialist to design a kitchen. I worked with 3 consultants, and one reduced the fee from $5,000 to $3,200. One wouldn't bid it because he said it was too small, and the third one waived all the fees. And he does nothing but commercial installations and design. He didn't charge us anything. We also had, for example, the suppression system, Flame Tamer Fire Protection is doing it at cost. I think it's about a $4,800 system, and that was $1,200. I worked with local, like Michigan Tile. They're locally owned. Give me a price on the tile. One of the contractors is a local contractor to replace the drywall, do this or that. So we did work with local. We did shave off fees wherever we can, but a commercial kitchen is a commercial kitchen. It costs money.
It seems
Residential
sort
is
of
not going to serve us.
It does seem kind of a small space, though. Do you think it's going to be
It is.
large enough?
Well, I think what we're going to
By
have
the
to do
time
is,
you get large ovens and things like that in, or?
yeah, I think what we'll have to do is we'll have to use the one of the tables out in the training room to eat. We won't be able to eat inside that room anymore.
Okay.
There's nothing I can do about that right now.
Mhm.
But you're right, the hood system will stick out from the wall, I think about 4.5 feet, 5 feet.
Do you have the plans and things like that available yet, or, I mean?
I have everything other than the money.
You sound
I
like
have
my wife.
Everything.
I got plenty. I didn't know money too.
I'll be honest, you can talk to my daytime staffing.
Uh-huh.
I was so disappointed in myself for not being able to fund this. You have no idea. I've been trying to do this for quite some time, and I can't make it work. Even though all the grants that come in, I couldn't do it.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions about the capital improvement plan? So let's move on to the funding approval request for the PPE extractor and dryer.
May I take this, Jane? All right. Chris, actually, you authored this. How would you like to take it?
Sure. So essentially, yeah, we did ask, as Greg explained earlier, we asked FEMA for 2 washers and 1 drying cabinet. The reason being, with 2 washers, we can wash a total of 6 sets of gear at a time and dry 6 sets of gear at a time. And as with the cancer presumption, the quicker we can get our gear cleaned and turned back around, the faster we're ready for another structure fire, PI accident, whatnot. Unfortunately, they were only able or willing to fund 1 of the 2. Originally, we did have $35,000 in the capital plan this year for this project, assuming we weren't going to get the grant at all. Thankfully, we were able to get $26,000 funded through a grant. So we're down to, as you can see in the request, that we only need to fund $11,025.52 ourselves. And again, there's a ton of plumbing work and whatnot to be done in the truck bay, since we have to cut up the concrete floor in order to put in the trough drains or the gravity drains for these commercial extractors. But it's all doable per the plumber and electrician. So happy to take any questions, or there is a sample motion in the.
What's a drying cabinet, Chris? Is it not a dryer that goes around and stuff?
No, it's a cabinet that they hang and dry in. Let me see if I can pull up a picture real quick for you. That essentially, because turnout gear can't tumble dry, it ruins the seams as well as the lettering and the temperature rating of the cabinet or the gear itself. So I'll give you an example of one. I think if it's opening, maybe. So something like this is what they look like. This isn't the exact model we're necessarily buying, but this is how turnout gear is supposed to dry. And then they have special racks for your boots and gloves and basically everything, but the helmet gets dried within this cabinet, and it turns basically from start to finish, we can wash and dry a set of gear in about 2 hours. Where currently it takes roughly an hour per set to wash, and then they have to hang and dry overnight because we don't have a dryer. So we're essentially, our gear's out of service for close to 24 hours by the time it's dry now, where now it'll be back in service a whole lot quicker.
Chris, if I could, Jane, can I just chime in here? I want to explain the importance to the fire board on clean gear. I can remember in the day we did nothing but take the gear off, throw it in our bag. We rarely even wash it off with a hose. You would have it in your car. It would burn your eyes. It was so bad from the toxic smell. Now we're smarter. Here's what happens if a firefighter goes into a fire with wet gear internally. He gets steam burns or she gets steam burns, and we are not going to allow that. And there are some times when we have down there, it might take 3 days for this turnout gear to dry. So this is a big win for the department, huge, and I applaud Chris for suggesting this. This is what departments are doing now. And most of them are paying for it out of their pockets. We just got the government to pay for most of it. So wanted to share that with you.
I got a question.
How long will it take to get it?
The biggest part is going to be the actual modifying the floor of the station for the plumber, probably because it's a little bit extensive to trench cut the concrete. I think the machines are approximately 4 to 6 weeks out from time of order. Last time I checked, and we basically, once you approve it for FEMA, we have to go back and re-quote with all 3 vendors again, have 3 current plumbing bids, 3 current drying bids, and 3 current washing bids before we can actually select the vendor. But I went with the more than likely the one we're going to go with. And I do have a couple revised quotes. It's just their process is you have to have quotes within 30 days of purchase for all three of them. And it's a little bit of a time consuming pain, but nonetheless, for $26,000, we'll go through their process. So
I got a question here. You're buying 2 washers and each one can wash how many turnout gears?
3 sets of gear at a time. So we could, by buying 2 washers and 1 drying cabinet, we can wash 3 sets in each machine. So wash a total of 6 sets at once and dry 6 sets at once.
Okay,
So
so the drying cabinet is twice the capacity of the washers.
Correct. Yep. Exactly.
Okay, good. Because I was thinking we're going to have too many washers and not enough dryers. So
No.
thank you for clarifying that. That makes sense.
Yeah, and they do make a drying cabinet that only holds 3 sets of gear, but we figured it made more sense to do exactly the way this is, that get the one that holds 6 sets and we can dry double the amount at once. So,
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, I'll make a motion to authorize the fire district staff to purchase the Milner washing machines, drying cabinet, and coordinate associated plumbing and electrical contractors for the project installation with a not to exceed amount of $38,000.
I'll second. Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, you go ahead. I've done
Okay, I'll
enough today.
second that motion.
I have a motion by Pullen and a second by Eric to purchase $38,000 worth of PPE equipment. Is there any more discussion?
If you want to try it on my big fat bedspread, you could. Just make sure it works.
well, and that's actually a good point, Stacy. I didn't explain, but so these washers are only used purely for PPE, not for household sheets and whatnot. And the intent is, from what kind of Greg or Chief touched on, is that it keeps the cancer and all the carcinogens in these machines that never touch the same pillow you're sleeping on.
That's a good idea, I guess.
Yeah.
I was joking.
Hey, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Pullen,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the open house. It occurred to me in the middle of the night last night when I wasn't busy sleeping, that we haven't formally canceled our open house, and we probably should do that, seeing how isn't it usually the first weekend in October?
Yes.
We can do that. We will do that on our website, Facebook, and on the sign.
Okay, do we need a motion to cancel it for this year, or?
However you see fit.
Did you make a
Probably-
motion to set it up originally?
No, I don't think we did.
Then you don't need one to
It's
cancel
just
it.
an every year occurrence, so.
Yeah, you don't need one to cancel, I wouldn't think.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you guys vote last year to not do the open house at all anymore and allocate it to National Night Out?
Yeah, I thought we were
I think we did,
shifting
yeah.
to National Night Out, Jane. Does that sound right?
I just think we need an announcement that we aren't having open house.
Okay.
Just so people know that there's not going to be an open house, because they probably weren't listening to that meeting.
Well,
Sure.
Jane, maybe we should put a
Whatever makes you
reminder.
think bad.
Maybe we should put a reminder that this year we will continue not to have an open house, but we
Yeah.
will be supporting National Night Out or whatever.
When
You know, we don't want people to think we're,
right,
cutting
when
out
we
on
have
them.
National Night Out again.
yeah. Good We can point. do that. We'll take care of that.
Okay, there is no correspondence. Is there any public comment?
I apologize for being late.
Okay, can we have fire board comments, please? Aaron,
Nothing for me.
Dan,
I had one quick thing, and I just lay it on you, and you guys can decide, or we can, whatever. A constituent came to me with an offer because on the front license plate of my vehicle, I have one of these the license plate is the black and white American flag with the one line that is both blue and red in honor of fire service and police services. Sort of as a sign of respect, I guess, as much as anything. And this person came to me and she said, I can get you that same thing on a flag. And if the fire department was interested in that and flying that flag or whatever, I would do that gratis, anonymously, but for free. This, by the way, this is what it looks like for those who don't.
We would
Nice.
fly that plus the American flag or instead of?
No, you not instead of, in addition.
Yeah, I think we should keep the American flag.
No. It's
This is in addition to.
We would fly it right below it, right, Dan? We just use the same post and go right below it.
Okay.
that's up to you, but that would be the thought. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it makes. Honestly, I thought it made a nice statement. I was impressed that she came to me and said, "Dave, I'll pay." I don't know. My guess is it's probably $50 or something like that.
I like the idea. I'm not a board member, but I like the idea. I'll leave it up to you guys.
Do you like it added to next month's agenda, or
Yeah, I think we should add next month's agenda. Yeah,
was that
I think
your
so.
request?
Whatever.
that's my opinion.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, Scott,
No, nothing for me today.
Stacy,
No, thanks.
Eric,
Nothing for me.
True.
I'm just sorry I was late.
Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Beckman and a second by Pullen. We have a roll call vote, please.
Yes, ma'am. Beckman,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Okay.
We are adjourned.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.